Is Nvidia's plan to clear out all of the old GPU stock finally working? Today, we're going to take a look. I'm going to basically take you guys shopping to see what I would buy if I saw the GPUs. And no, it's not going to be my local micro center like everybody tells me. Not everyone has a micro center. I'm going to look at Newegg and I'm going to select only in stock shipped by Newegg so we get the actual retail pricing. I'm kind of surprised GPUs are actually disappearing, and I'm not even talking about just the 4090. I know we've all been focused on the new stuff that's come out, but this entire time we can't take our eye off the ball, and that's going to be the RTX 3000 as well as AMD's RX 6000 GPUs, which are also going to be replaced shortly by the new 7900 XT, at least the top end ones. So first, I'm going to show you these GPUs. This is a page from Newegg, something that anybody can access, at least in the US. These are going to be the AMD GPUs. So let's take a look at what is a potential buy and what you should definitely avoid. Remember, we're not getting any low-end or mid-range GPUs for quite a while from either Nvidia or AMD. Basically, we're only getting the really high-end stuff. Probably the next GPU is like a 4070 Ti after the 7900 XT, which is still going to be probably pretty expensive. So looking here, let's start off right at the top of the page. Here, the first GPU that catches my eye, $319 for an RX 6700. Now, an RX 6700 will be comparable to maybe like a 3070, but just remember, anytime we are talking about AMD, the ray tracing performance is never going to be on par with Nvidia, even at these levels. But $319 for a 6700, I think I can kind of stand behind this one. I think this is going to be a great price to performance GPU. Fantastic 1440p GPU. AMD actually does really well at 1080p and 1440p. So as long as you keep that ray tracing off, this is going to be a pretty fantastic GPU and you're going to get tremendous performance. Now, right next to it is an example of something you should not buy for that price. At $539, this is going to be a 6750 XT. Now, it is the newer version of the 6700, but it really only gets a minor bump in performance. Certainly not worth anywhere near that $220 difference that they're asking for here. In fact, you should be able to find a 6750 XT for considerably cheaper, maybe like $450 and maybe as low as $400. But here, $319 for a 6700 certainly is going to be pretty difficult to pass up. If we kind of take a look comparatively at what Nvidia has to offer, likewise, here in stock, there is a 3070 for $399. And of course, next to it is a $439 RTX 3060. This shows you how messed up GPU pricing is. This is like retail pricing from Newegg. It's not even a third-party seller. Here, you would never want a 3060 for anywhere near the price of a 3070. Here, the obvious choice, of course, is to go for the 3070. That's going to be one of the best priced 3070s I've actually seen brand new online. And if you ask me, what would you buy, a $319 6700 or a $399 3070? That's actually a pretty difficult question because they're both going to perform really well. But Nvidia certainly does have its advantages. If you're going to be doing any type of streaming, any type of content creation, if you want to use like Blender, anything that Nvidia has a lead on, especially ray tracing, if you want to do DLSS like 2.0, here, you may want to go and pay the extra bucks for the 3070. It's probably going to perform similar in rasterization to the 6700, but you will be getting those like little Nvidia benefits that I mentioned before. Otherwise, if you just want to get high frame rates and you want to save like 80 bucks, that 6700 really isn't that bad of a deal. I would just clearly avoid this 3060, especially at that price. For a 3060, you want to be looking at closer to $300 at this point. So going back over to those AMD GPUs, here, if you take a look, we do see a 6600 XT at $359. That is way too expensive for that. You can see the next one is a 6650 XT, which is the newer, faster version, and that one is cheaper at $399. But once again, for $10 more, I'd rather just get a 6700. I think it's still going to be a better GPU than this 6650 XT. For a 6650 XT to make sense, it has to really be well below below $300. So as we keep going down here, you can see the high-end AMD GPUs simply overpriced at this point. $1,269, no thank you. That's a 6900 XT. That price is unrealistic. This one's interesting, a 6800 for $509. Now, this is a tough one. I'm not sure if that price is really that great. I would much rather pay in the $400 range for a 6800. A 6800 XT, that's an entirely different story. That one is going to be more like a 3080 competitor. A 6800, while it does beat a 3070 in many cases, I almost rather just go back to that Gigabyte 399 3070, save, $110 and have the Nvidia GPU for cheaper. Performance will be pretty close, even though the 6800 will beat it in rasterization in many games. But likewise, Nvidia will definitely beat the 6800 when it comes to ray tracing, and you get DLSS and you get all of those Nvidia goodies. I don't think this is a very good buy at $509, but it is one of the higher end GPUs still in stock. I would rather just jump up to like a 6800 XT or something like that if you can find it. Looking at a few other AMD GPUs here, we do see a 6650 XT for $299. I mean, that starts to get a little bit better, but at this price, I still rather go for that 6700 for like $20 more. I think that's going to be the better deal. And then, of course, other GPUs to avoid. You do see that, the very expensive $539 6750 XT. Definitely would avoid that. And you see another 6700 XT for $359. That's not bad, but I'd rather get the other one, which is going to be a bit cheaper. And then unrealistically, a 6800 XT is $879. I'm not sure what's going on with that type of pricing. Obviously, the MSRP is a lot lower by now. That's why you have to be careful. Even Newegg hasn't really updated all of the pricing, and that may catch some buyers off guard that were used to much higher prices, and they haven't been following sort of the news like you guys may be, watching me or looking at different YouTube videos related to GPUs. And then taking a look at some other Nvidia GPUs, here we have an RTX 3050. I would probably avoid this one and just go for like a 6650 XT. That's going to be around the same price. And then, of course, 3060 Ti for $449. You should definitely just get the 3070 for $399. That's going to be a much better deal. And then we see some other GPUs here, a 3060 at over $400. Not good pricing at all. 3060 Ti at $399. If that 3070 didn't exist for $399, this probably wouldn't be terrible. But at this point, I would rather get that 3070 or just step down a little bit price-wise and get that 6700, which I still think is one of the best bang for the bucks if you're looking at price with performance. But one thing that's pretty interesting, you see a lot of these GPUs are going to be sort of that lower end to the mid-range, which is good in a sense because that's what's missing in the market. But we're also missing like a lot of GPUs above this. Like I've barely seen 3080s for sale, 3080 Ti, 3090s. They've certainly been disappearing a bit. It kind of makes sense. Nvidia is holding back a tremendous amount of inventory from both the new stuff, but also these RTX 3000. They had to really sell everything that they have, in the field, because if they don't, the prices are just going to have to go down. So it looks like they prefer to keep the pricing a bit higher than normal and sell what they have and just hold back that inventory for maybe a later date, or maybe they trickle it out slowly. It's interesting, we don't see very many 3080 Ti's, 3080s, the 12 gigabyte or the 10 gigabyte. And when you do see them, the pricing is still a little bit too expensive. The 3090 Ti is a special case because it came out fairly recently at a very high price and it took a very fast tumble, but its pricing is in conflict with all the new stuff coming out right around that $1,000 range, especially from AMD. So that one I don't think is going to fare very well after these AMD GPUs come out and more people have access to maybe 4080s and the 4070 Ti eventually. But then again, if you're looking at a GPU at that level of like a 3080 Ti, your best bet right now is just to wait a couple more weeks and see how the AMD GPUs do. The 7900 XT and the XTX are going to come in at $899 and $999 respectively, and the performance is going to be probably very close to a 4080 in terms of rasterization. Of course, the same caveat about AMD versus Nvidia applies here, where Nvidia has superior ray tracing if that matters to you. That may not not matter for every person. Some people may just want that better availability and the cheaper price that the AMD GPUs promise, rather than have to pay a little bit more for the Nvidia GPUs. And yes, with the 4080, as unpopular as it is, it's still in stock in some places. I mean, Newegg will get them off and on at different times. It's not really in stock like all of the time, but it does come in much more than other places. Then, of course, if you take a look at Micro Center, some stores have seemingly sold out of 4080s over the Black Friday sales, but other stores do really seem to have a lot in stock still, from the Asus TUF, the Zotac GPUs, some like PNY, even some of the Gigabyte ones. I've seen certain stores, especially like in the New York City region, a lot of them do have stock. But that's a particular thing to Micro Center. I know not everybody's close to one, but for the people that are, and it does show some of the demand, if a GPU like the 4090 were in stock just at Micro Center, you can bet people would drive far away just to pick it up or have a friend get it. But that's not the case, because the 4090 certainly has been pretty much sold out everywhere. Even Best Buy hasn't really done any drops recently. A lot of people are asking when the next drop is. It seems like that stock has kind of dried up for a little while, and they're probably pushing these 4080s a little more, even though they're definitely having trouble selling them compared to the 4090. All right, guys, so let me know what you think down below. Would you actually buy any of these GPUs? Remember to subscribe, smash that like button, and I'll see you guys on the next video.